Good day everyone! Today's video, we're going to discuss the true responses together with my group mate, Miss Bless Camilosa, Marlo Birungoy, Marvin Soliva, Mylene Durango, and Miss Mary Joy Ramirez. Join us and learn more about true responses. What is light in true response? In trees, blue light wavelength can be used to cue developmental signals. Many tree organs contain photosensitive compounds like phototropins, cytochromes, phytochromes, and hormone auxin, each reacting very specifically to blue wavelength of light. This light sensor tells the tree if days or night, how long the day is, or how much the available and from where the light is coming. Leaves turn directions maximize sunlight exposure. Shoot grows towards light and roots usually grow away from light. They are directed by the photosensitive compounds mentioned above. Many exhibit certain phenomena at specific times of day. For example, flowers open only in the morning. Trees keep track the time of the day with a molecular clock. This internal clock is set to solar clock every day using sunlight. The internal clock coupled with ability to perceive light allows trees to measure the time of the day and also to find the season of the year. This is how many trees know when the flower or changes leaf color like in autumn. The seeds of many trees sprouts only after they are exposed to light. These are also able to sense the quality of light and respond appropriately. For example, in a low light conditions, trees produce more photosynthetic pigments, whereas when the light is very bright and or if the levels of harmful ultraviolet light increase, trees produce more underprotective pigments that are sunscreens. What is temperature in tree response? Tree response to extreme of temperature, trees can produce various proteins. As temperature fall, production of antifreeze proteins and dehydrates increase. This protect the tree from the damaging effect of ice formations and falling rates of enzymes catalysis of low temperature. As temperatures rises, the productions of heat shock proteins increase along the increase of photorespirations at high temperatures. Metabolic imbalance associated with the temperatures extreme result of the build-up of the reactive oxygen species, which can be countered by antioxidant system. Cell membranes are also affected by change in temperatures and can cause the membrane to lose its fluid properties and become gel in a cold conditions or to become a leaky in a hot conditions. This can affect the movement of compounds across the membrane. To prevent these changes, trees can change the compositions of their membranes. In cold condition, more unsaturated fat acids are placed in the membrane, and in hot conditions, more unsaturated fatty acids are inserted. Trees can avoid overheating by minimizing the amount of sunlight absorbed and by enhancing the cooling effect of wind transpiration. Trees can reduce light and absorption of using effective leaf hairs, scales, and waxes. These features are also common in warm dry regions that these habits can be seen to form a silvery landscape at the light scatters at the canopies, and some species can move their leaves throughout the day so that they're always oriented to avoid the sun and hot days. And it also knowledge of these mechanisms that has been important for breeding heat trees tolerance in new cultivars. Also, in warmer weather, terpenes are released into atmosphere surrounding coniferous forests on hot summer days, where they are act as natural form clouding seedling. Scientists now realize that the resulting clouds that form help to block the sunlight and to cool the forest, allowing the forest to regulate its temperature. This function is similar to the way people sweat when they become overheated, and the evaporating moisture on the skin cools the body down.
Good day, everyone. I am Mary Jo Ramirez from BSF2D. Oh, here's my report about the tree physiology. Water. The ability of trees to access water depends on the structure of their roots and on the water potential of the root cells. If there is too little water, then tissues will dehydrate and the tree may die. In every dry soil, trees close their stomata to reduce transpiration and prevent water loss. Trees that are adapted to dry environments have a range of more specialized mechanisms to maintain water or protect tissues when desiccation occurs. These remarkable mechanisms allow trees to lift water as high as 400 feet 100 meters by harnessing the gradient created by transpiration from the leaves. Too much water can also damage trees. If the soil becomes waterlogged, then the soil will become anoxic low in oxygen, which can kill the roots of the tree within days. Trees can't avoid waterlogging, but many species overcome lack of oxygen in the soil by transporting oxygen to the root from tissues that are not submerged. Next, carbon dioxide concentration. Carbon dioxide is a vital for tree growth as it is substrate for photosynthesis. Trees take in carbon dioxide through stomata process on their leaves. At the same time, as carbon dioxide enters the stomata, the moisture escapes. However, most species use C3 carbon fixation and most often open their stomata to take in carbon dioxide whenever photosynthesis is taking place. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is rising due to deforestation, global warming, and combustion of fossil fuels. Unfortunately, detrimental impacts of global warming, such as increased instances of heat and drought stress, mean that overall effects is likely to be a reduction in tree productivity. Wind. The main impact of wind on trees is through its influence on the canopy, which in turn influences the way leaves regulate moisture, heat, and carbon dioxide. We know wind is present. When no wind is present, a layer of still air builds up around each leaf. The boundary layer effectively insulates the leaf from the environment, providing an atmosphere rich in moisture and least prone to convective heating or cooling. As wind speed increases, the leaf environment becomes more closely linked to the surrounding environment. In areas where very strong winds are common, trees respond by reducing their above ground growth, knowing us, dwarfing, and by strengthening their stems. Trees have particularly well developed capacity to reinforce their trunks when exposed to wind. In the most extreme cases, trees can be mortally damaged or uprooted by wind. This is a particular problem in hurricane-prone regions. Next, electrophysiology. Tree cells can be electrically excited and can display rapid electrical response to environmental stimuli. This action potential can influence processes such as tree movements, wound responses, respiration rate, photosynthesis, and flowering. The electrical responses can cause the synthesis of numerous organic molecules and accomplish behavioral responses to environmental, communicative, and ecological contexts. Cells in nearly living organisms can be electrically excitable.
Good day, everyone. This is Maylin V. Durango, and my topic is all about cooperative protection until gravitropism. So, cooperative protection. When a tree is wounded or attacked by a native pest or disease, the tree will release a chemical odor, which can be noticed if you were to crush or tear a leaf. This odor serves as a volatile signal or an alarm signal that neighboring trees detect and prepare for the attack by producing chemicals that defend the tree from the insect or disease. Another type of response is to attract predators, such as birds that will eat an insect pest. This signal process has also been detected in the forest as an interlocking root system assisted by mycorrhizae. Trees cannot always respond this well to exotic pests or diseases such as Dutch elm disease. So, trees have many strategies to fight off pests. For example, they can produce different toxins against invaders, or they can induce a rapid cell death to kill disease cells that hinders the disease from spreading throughout the tree. Next is tree movement. Trees appear immobile because they are rooted in one place. However, time-lapse photography reveals that parts of trees move frequently. Trees move in response to several environmental stimuli such as light, gravity, and mechanical disturbances. These movements fall into two groups, which is tropisms and nastic movements. So we have tropism. Tropism is a plant movement that is determined by the direction of a biological stimulus. Movement toward an environmental stimulus is called a positive tropism, and movement away from a stimulus is called a negative tropism. Each kind of tropism is named for its stimulus. So, for example, of tropism is a plant movement in response to light coming from one particular direction is called a phototropism. Next, we have gravitropism. Gravitropism is a plant growth response to gravity. A root usually grows downward and a stem usually grows upward. Like, phototropism, gravitropism appears to be regulated by auxins. It occurs when a seedling is placed horizontally. Auxins accumulate along the lower sides of the root and the stem. This concentration of auxins stimulates cell elongation along the lower side of the stem, and the stem grows upward. A similar concentration of auxins inhibits cell elongation on the lower side of the root, and thus the root grows downward. So, gravitropism is an important plant growth response to the environment that directs shoots upward and roots downward, thereby allowing each organ to reach environments that are adequate for performance of their primary functions. For example of gravitropism is the roots of the plants grow towards the gravitational field, whereas the stem grows away from the gravitational field. So that's it, and thank you.
Seasonal responses. Senescence is the process that occurs when chlorophyll production drops off as day length decreases and the tree prepares for dormancy. As the photosphere decreases, the plant's ability to synthesize chlorophyll becomes reduced. The green part of the light spectrum is no longer reflected, and other compounds chemicals called anthocyanins, the reds, xanthophylls, the oranges, and the carotenoids, the yellows, becomes dominant pigments in the leaves. The leaves are changes in everything but the cell walls and nutrients depleted protoplasms are gradually drawn into stems and roots in every efficient manner. Additionally, senescing cells in oaks contains high quantities of tannins in the leaves which are responsible for brown colors. The intensity of brilliance of the colors changes in the influenced by weather conditions during the period of declining chlorophyll following a good growing seasons contribute to better displays of vibrant colors. A series of sunny days and cold nights that remains above freezing will are also result in more colorful display. On the other hand, the warm days of atoms withers will generally due to the color quality. Dormancy. Dormancy is a period in plant's life of decreased metabolisms in the deciduous hardwoods of the temperate regions. This period is usually referred by the non-technical term winter. In preparation for winter and prevent of minimize damage from the cold, plant cells switch from productions of chlorophyll for growth to productions of sugars and amino acids, which act as antifreeze for the plant. As already mentioned, chemicals in the leaves are drawn into stems and eventually to the roots during this process. The cold temperatures prevent trees and plants from functions in at least three ways. Water would freeze in plant tissues causing cell rupture, or the water in the upper soil layers often freeze making absorption impossible. The last is the low temperatures are far below what is necessary for the proper functions of the enzymes that controls a tree's metabolic process such as photosynthesis and respirations. To avoid these environmental limitation, trees prepare for dormancy in the autumn. At the base of the leaf, petiole where parenchyma cell sands subrise cells. Parenchyma cells which are very soft and form of the leaf side of the petiole. Suberized cells which are waxy and impermeable are formed from the three sides to act as a protective seal. Eventually, the vascular bundles or the vein of the leaf are the only things that hold the leaf to the tree. The vascular bundles eventually break or the torn by the wind and the leaf falls leaving what is called a bundle scar. And that a bad for next year growth. Most conifers that have different strategies to maintain their green parts during the winter and they have needles with much different structures than broad leaves. However, in this case of conifers, the needles that have grown old after 2 or 3 years no longer received as much light and shade each autumn. Fallen leaves. The dropping of tons of biomass per acre percent of tree losing significant amounts of valuable nutrients. Much of the sugars are valuable nutrients and resorbed from the leaves just before they separated from tree, but the annual leaf drop still means the loss of a lot of good nutrients that will eventually decompose on the forest floor and be absorbed by the micronutrients that will release them back into the tree roots within the next couple growing season. In the north, temperatures climates drop leaves become part of the organic layer on the surface of the soil to be recycled in part of the soil decomposes category of soil microorganisms. Biostimulant. Biostimulants are products applied by humans to assist trees that are struggling in the urban environment. Biostimulants are living organisms or extracts from living things that can either help to protect plants from diseases or invigorate growth. Also, the term biostimulant has been used to describe various substances involved horticultural productions over the past few decades. They were originally developed to promote the root growths in agricultures and increase root crops by 20 to 30%. They also were used to reduce stress, disease susceptibility, and improve root quality. Biostimulants have decreased certain problems leading to chlorosis by enabling the plants to absorb minerals not readily available within the soil profile, and biostimulants and have been shown for enable antioxidant activity in both the soil and within the plant, especially when the plants are under stress. Additionally, in many cases, biostimulants help the tree recover quickly from trees and rejuvenate the root system.
Good day everyone, I'm Marvin Soliva and I will discuss the topic chemotropism, gnostic movements, photoperiodism, and nyctinastic movements. And let's start the discussion. First is the chemotropism. Chemotropism is a plant growth response to a chemical. For example, after a flower is pollinated, a pollen tube grows down through the stigma and style and enters the ovule through the microphyle to produce a seed. The growth of pollen trees towards the ovule induced by the sugary substance as stimulus. This is an example of positive chemotropism. Next is the gnostic movement. Gnostic movements differ from tropic movements in that the direction of tropic responses depends on the direction of the stimulus, whereas the direction of gnostic movements is independent of the stimulus position. Gnostic movements are non-directional responses to stimuli. Example, temperature, humidity, light, and usually associated with plants. The movement can be due to changes in turgor or changes in growth. The rate or frequency of these responses increases as intensity of the stimulus increases. Next is the photoperiodism. Photoperiodism is the mechanism by which many of the hardwood trees regulate their various life processes, including preparing for winter. Many plants have the ability to adjust their cycles to the changes in the amount of available daylight. This occurs even though they may have started growing at different times. Their flowering is a response of the changing length of day and night as the season progresses. Nyctinastic movements. Nyctinastic movements are plant movements in response to the daily cycle of light and dark. Example of trees that demonstrate these movements include honey locust and silk trees. Both trees move their leaf blades horizontally during daylight hours and vertically at night. The nyctinastic movements involve the osmotic mechanism, but the changes in turgor pressure are more gradual. That's it. Thank you for watching my report, and I hope you understand a lot. Thank you. God bless.
Good day everyone, my name is Marlo Oberongoy from BSIP 2B. Tree growth regulation. Plant growth can be determinate or interdeterminate, meaning some plant will have a cycle of growth, then a cessation of growth. Breakdown of tissues, and indeed, like a tomato plant, while other like a giant cedar. Tree will grow and remain active 400 of years. Tree enzymes. Most enzymes are protein in some form or another. They are produced in every minute quantities and are produced within the tree. Vitamins are vital in the activation of enzymes and are produced in the cytoplasm and the membranes of tree cells. Tree hormones. Tree hormones are chemical messengers that affects a tree's ability to respond to its environment. Hormones are organic compounds that are effective at very low concentration. They are usually synthesized in one part of the plant and are transported to another location. Auxin. Auxin are hormones involved in plant cell elongation, apical dominance, and rooting. A well-known natural auxin is indoleacetic acid or IEE, which is produced in the apical meristem of the shoot. Developing seeds produce IEE, which stimulates the development of fleshy fruit. Synthesized auxin. Chemists have synthesized several inexpensive compounds similar in structure to IEE. Synthetic auxin like nap- naphthalene acetic acid of NEE are, are used extensively to promote root formation on stem and leaf cutting. When NEE is spread on young fruit of apple and trees, some of fruit drop off so that the remaining fruits grow larger. Javelins. In 1990s, Japan scientists discovered a substance produced by fungus Javelins. It has many effects on the plant but primarily stimulate elongation, growth spraying a plant with gibberellins while usually cause the plant to grow to the larger than expected height.